Hey fellow crafters. When my son was really little, I loved sewing his clothes. I particularly liked going to fabric stores and looking at all the cool patterns and colors that I could choose from to make his tops and his sweats. As he got a little bit older, my passion switched to quilting. Again, I loved going into the fabric stores and choosing a variety of patterns and colors that would coordinate together so that I could sew wall hangings and sort of lap quilts. One of my favorite patterns when I was quilting is called the 9 patch. I loved it because you could use lots of different leftover bits of fabric. But the 9 patch had several different techniques, so depending on how you organized the 9 patches of material, you could create quilts or wall hangings that looked different each time. Well, funny enough, the other day a Stampin' Up demonstrator shared a card idea with us, one that she had created using the 9 patch technique. It looks complicated, but it's not. I do recommend, however, that you use a liquid glue like our Multipurpose Liquid glue to help you arrange the pieces. I'm also, on my card, going to be using the Sending Smiles bundle. You've got to give this technique a try. Hey everyone, I'm Terri from nutsAboutStamping.com. I love sharing techniques and project ideas for rubber stamping, paper crafting, and scrapbooking with you each week. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button and the bell beside it so that you'll be the first to be notified when my next video goes live. If you don't have a Stampin' Up demonstrator yet, I'd love for you to choose me. I'll link to my online stores in the description box underneath this video. Speaking of video, be sure to watch all the way through my video for my bonus tips and design ideas. Now, let's get quilting. For my 9 patch card, I've decided to use the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper. I've got lots of leftover bits and pieces, and I thought this would be a perfect technique to use some of that up. This canvas-looking paper features illustrated and painted flowers on one side, and then when you flip it over, you've got all-purpose patterns on the other side. These repeating patterns can be used as focal images or as accent pieces on your card bases and scrapbook layouts. What I really like about this paper is some of the designs matches the dies that come with the Hues of Happiness bundle. So you can actually die cut out the flowers and use them as elements on your project. I'm not going to do that today, but I am going to use some of these designs, leftover bits and pieces that I have for my 9 patch card. My card base is going to be Daffodil Delight, and this week I'm going to create a square card base and square layers. It's just easier to organize when you're cutting your designer series paper to also use squares. So the whole layout is going to be square. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to choose some designer series paper scraps. You want to choose 2 different coordinating patterns and hopefully colors that you want to use on your 9 patch. So what I'm going to show you is how to create the layers. So you want to start off with a piece that is 1.5 inches in width. And then you want to then cut 1.5 inches from that width so that you create squares. Okay, so this is a 1.5 inch square. What you want to do is you want to take the pattern pieces that you're going to cut, and then you're going to put in the cutting tray the point and the point, line it up, close down the bar, and then slice it so that you end up with 2 triangles from each square. So I've gone ahead and I've done that. I'll get my triangles and squares laid out and I'll talk you through the steps to create this 9 patch card. This is what I've chosen for my card design. So you want 2 of these and 2 of these, and then you cut them on the diagonal. In addition to that, you want 1 full square of one of your patterns. It's your choice. And then you want 4 squares of a solid color cardstock that coordinates with the patterns and colors that you've chosen. Now what we want to do is we want to take the triangles and squares and we want to adhere them to a layer of basic white. And then this layer will be transferred over and adhered to the Daffodil Delight card base. So here's what I would recommend you do. Get your silicone sheet ready and your liquid glue. And what I would recommend is that you start in all four corners and adhere one of your patterns of the triangles into each of the corners like so. So I'll stop the video, I'll go ahead and adhere these down, and I'll come back and then I'll show you the next step. Here we go. I've got those four pieces adhered and I'm ready for the next step. But just a tip for you. You really want to use a lot of precision when you're adhering these down. You don't want any overlap. I have like a smidge of overlap. If you do, it might turn your pattern a little askew and you may not be very happy with the results. So take the time needed to attach those first four pieces and the rest should work. Let's see if it does. Now the next thing I want to do is take my second pattern and I want to line it up and adhere it down like so, using my multi-purpose liquid glue. And again, I want to have these pieces tucked as tightly as I possibly can to the first piece so that it creates this sort of square shape. So again, I'll use my multi-purpose liquid glue. I'll stop the video and I'll go ahead and adhere these pieces and then we'll come back for the next step. And there we go. I've got those pieces adhered down. So next what we want to do is take these four solid colors and we want to adhere them down like so. Now you have a choice at this point. You can do it plain like this, or you can take an embossing folder and emboss these four pieces so they look like they've been quilted. And so that's what I'm going to do. I've chosen the Stripes and Splatters embossing folders. It's a set of two, and this one is the Splatter. And I think it would be fun. It would look like it has been crazy quilted, which is a certain sewing technique for quilters. So I'm going to stop the video and I'll emboss these four, and then I'll adhere them down to these four areas of the sort of the cross and come back and show you the final step in finishing off this card. There we go. I've got my embossed squares attached to my card. And just a little tip for you, if at this point you're finding that, there's a little bit that needs to be overlapped, don't worry about it. Card making should be fun, not stressful. So if your squares don't line up perfectly, just overlap them a little bit and let it go. It's perfectly okay. Because we have one square left, and that one is going to be the final one that will fit or closely fit in the middle. So I'll go ahead and attach that, and then we'll talk about how we can add a phrase to the front of this layer. So I've decided that I'm going to use two coordinating colors, Daffodil Delight and Night of Navy, to create a phrase for the front of my card. Now, I've said at the beginning of the video that I was going to use my sending dies, and I think that would be really fun to have that sending phrase across the front of this quilted layer. So I'm going to use the sort of base for the sending word in Daffodil Delight. And then what I'm going to do for the more detailed sending, I'm going to die cut that in Night of Navy. But because this is really intricate, I've used some of our adhesive sheets. I cut a piece and adhered it to the back of this, and it will create like a sticker that I can then set inside the Daffodil Delight. Again, it's about pulling all of the colors together. So I'll go ahead and die cut this, then I'll attach the Night of Navy sending inside the Daffodil Delight sending, and then I'll show you how to complete the card. I decided to do one final thing before I attach the sending phrase, And I think it would be easier to attach the phrase after I attach this quilt layer to my card base. So I'm going to do that using my adhesive. And I've decided that my card is going to be this way. I just like unique card layouts every once in a while. And today is one of those times. There we go. Now, what I have done is, there's my sending phrase. And what I did was I put some mini Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of it because I want to pop it up on my card front, just for some visual interest. Now it's time to talk embellishments. I think for my card, I'm going to use some of my basic pearls jewels. I think pearls kind of remind me a little bit of old-fashioned things. I guess my grandmother used to wear pearls every once in a while. And so I'm going to add some pearls to my card. And there we go. The 9-patch card is done. And I think it's really pretty, thanks to my Sending Smiles stamp set. You know, this stamp set is perfect to brighten someone's day, to offer comfort and strength, to send a note of thanks, or to send birthday wishes. So although I have the sending on the front of my card, what I will do is when I figured out who's going to get this card, I will choose one of the other phrases and stamp that on the inside, leaving me lots of room to add a special note for that special person. If you would like a complete listing of the supplies that I used and the measurements for all of the cardstock and designer series paper layers, I will link to my blog post underneath this video in the description box. You can link over there and get all the details you need, including the ordering numbers in case you want to order the Sending Smiles bundle or the Hues of Happiness designer series paper. I'm Terri. I'm nuts about stamping. I hope you'll try this fun 9-patch technique someday soon. Bye for now.